I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy... State of fear.
Films on our FlyOver network now. So today we have our first guest, Jusef, our lovely, lovely founding father of FlyOver State of Film. Figure better on to have. How's it going, Jusef?
Good, how are you, man?
Good.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, pilot.
Yeah, the pilot episode. I feel like I'm always in the pilot episodes and then I never appear again.
Well, the good thing about this one is, so to give you guys a little background of my idea of this is, it's just going to be guests and whomever. It's not just going to be strictly us Flyboys on. Mm-hmm. But any one of the Flyboys has a always welcome invitation to join if they just want to talk about a movie. So Jusef needs to get a horror review out. He'll just come on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, remember when I used to do reviews?
wildofmovies.com, no more.
No more.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm really excited, and the reason why I wanted to do this recently on FlyOver, you mentioned you were like, you just pick horror movies. I'm like, shit, the last like 4 picks have been that probably for me. I always enjoyed them, and I find it's the most interesting genre of movie to talk about, even when the movie's not like great. It's usually something better than just like a drama or a comedy. Like there's a lot of interest in horror, so that's kind of what I want to be doing here. And so first and foremost, Jusef, what are your, I know you very well, but for people listening, like what's your like horror palette? What do you enjoy, like, and what you grow up with, and just kind of tell me about your horror self before we start talking about our movie today.
For newcomers that don't know me.
The new ones. The TikTokers.
Yeah, the TikTokers. You're bringing those Gen Zs. So, yeah, I had a website that was called Why I Love Movies. So, I love every single genre. There's very few that I don't like. Horror movies, for example, is the only one that I truly hate. But horror movies, yeah, I run the gamut. I love a good slasher that is just pure violence and gore and it's just dumb and fun, all the way to monster movies with great special effects, psychological thrillers that, like a Jacob's Ladder or something like that just works your mind. You're just wondering what the hell is going to happen to the end, or something that rides the line like the one that we picked today, which is something that dips into multiple genres where you can argue that it's pure horror or pure thriller or pure crime.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just like that it's so flexible that it can be a full-on comedy or it can be something that scars you for the rest of your life.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Is there any one like the movie that stands out to you like growing up? I know I have my movies. I think that's where I went into horror, at least, where everyone kind of finds their footing, right, as a kid. And a lot of the times people won't realize they like horror movies because they remember, like, 2 things they watched as a kid.
Yeah. No, my brother used to love the Nightmare on Elm Streets, the Jasons, and all that fun stuff. But the one that really resonated with me, I was fairly young when it came out. I was probably 11 or 10. When I went like, oh, I like this, was Scream. When I watched Scream as a kid, I was like, and I know it's like it's a kind of a commentary on horror movies, and some people don't like the comedy aspect of it, but that was when I was like, okay, this genre has a lot of potential, and I really want to keep exploring.
Sure. We say, it's funny with Scream though. You say that, but it's like, everyone says that today. It's a common. you're watching as a kid, you don't care.
Nope.
Or not even a kid, even not experienced. Like, it's a good movie. It's a slasher.
It's a fun slasher.
So that's awesome. Yeah, I just anyway, that's awesome. I love to hear that.
How about you? What is your, since this is the pilot?
From the pilot, I could give my
I'll get to ask you the question.
Origin. Yeah, for me, I was terrified. I always liked scary things, but I was terrified of everything until like, I think the turning point was the Dawn of the Dead remake. I saw it in theaters, and I absolutely these. It's not even a horror movie. I felt like, but I was like, oh, this stuff could be fun, like laugh at, enjoy. And then that joy was immediately taken away, like 3 months later when I saw House of a Thousand Corpses, when I realized, oh, not every horror movie is going to be silly. But prior to that, I was very afraid of like Chucky and Child's Play. My man Freddy, I more knew him as like an urban legend almost before I started loving the movies.
Yeah.
So I definitely found, I would say, my horror footing a little older when I was maybe like, not because I used to say Dawn of the Dead, but not really until I was like 13 or so. I was like, all right, let's watch anything. My dad really likes horror movies, and so, but yeah, that's kind of my horror origins. Which
did you find them scary still, or because I remember as a kid, I never found the supernatural scary. For some reason, my logical brain could override my fear, like the Freddy's or anything that I could explain away as a movie would go away. But if it was a human doing this type of like work, that would legit scare me.
So that's a good question. The supernatural, the religious supernatural scares the hell out of me. Things with like ghosts. It's still to this day, ghosts, demons, pretty scary. The things more of like monster, like talking about Freddy or the slashers, or weirdly enough, real life things for them, don't get under my skin. I'm like, oh, that's disturbing, or like that was a good fun time. It's more of like I was one of the people who was very freaked out by Hereditary, right? That had my skin crawling. I loved it, but just give it like an updated example. But I bought into it. I think about it later. Yeah. So that does creep me out. But you know, don't shy away from them. Like I think I could watch at night. Like I could watch. Well, Nightmare on Elm Street's a weird one because I could say I throw that on any night. I could put that on, go to sleep. Child's Play, go to sleep. I mean, that's not scary. But if you were like, yo, let's watch The Exorcist, be like, it's 8:30 at night. Let's do this in the morning. Like I actually watch most of my horror movies that are like that on like Sunday at like 9 a.m. before my wife wakes up because she doesn't like metal. And she promised me when we get my footing on, the like footing with the show, that she will come on and do The Ring because that traumatized her as a kid. And I said, okay.
All right.
So let's episode 50 of this show, Laura.
Oh my God, that's a ladder. That's not a footing.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Who knows when we run out of ideas. All right, so let's get into this today. Thank you for that introduction and all that stuff. All right, so today we're talking about David Fincher's Seven. Came out in 1995. It's written by Andrew Kevin Walker, who really didn't do much after Seven. Although, interesting fact about that is one of the rare times Fincher actually let him on set and do rewrites at the time. So it really is just Fincher and Andrew Kevin Walker's movie, it sounded like, from what I'm reading. Surprised to read the budget before we get into it. It's $33 million. I always thought it was like a $15 million movie. So it actually had a higher budget for the time than you would think. And it was a worldwide, I mean, it was a huge hit. It was $227 million box office. And I mean, that's huge for 1995.
Yeah, that's a good return on your investment.
Yeah, stars Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman, Goop, and Arlie Ermey. A young John C. McGinley. The cast is great, but it really has a stage play type cast. It's 4.3 out of 5 on Letterboxd and sitting at an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes currently. critic reviews, 95 fan. So I just want to run through that stuff. But why'd you pick 7? I was like, I asked Jusef, I said, your choice, and that's gonna be the show. It's gonna be a guest choice. We're not gonna shut down a lot. And 7 is, no pun intended, it's such an outside of the box thinking for a horror movie. So I'm just going to go through it. I really think the intro, we go into this movie and it's very set up like a stage. I think it's set up like a stage play, the intro. Stuff's happening. You're in on Morgan Freeman's last week as a cop, as a detective. Somerset, and a young detective, Brad Pitt Mills, is joining the force and transferring, sorry. And one is, he's an established cop. Both are established cops. And they go to a crime scene, and it turns out they have a serial killer on their hands who we find out is using the 7 deadly sins to tell his story.
Yeah, it's a two-part
kind of synopsis.
Yeah, two-part answer to your question is why I picked it is, one, is that type of movie that you always like scroll by and you go like, ooh, I gotta watch it, and you never do because you never hit play. So I've been like saying, ooh, I gotta watch it, like, I don't know, for months now. And the second part is that I have always, like I said, like in the beginning, when I ask you like what actually gives you fright, it's like human actions, and this movie turns our sins against each other, against them. Like you really highlight all the horror that each of us commit in our daily lives. Obviously, this takes it to a whole new level of, like the best example is the gluttony.
Your first murder.
Yeah, it's an exaggerated level, but at the same time, it really does put a mirror, and that's one of the best aspects of horror as well. Like it could really, like, I mean, for example, Get Out puts a mirror against racism and all that stuff. So putting a mirror against the 7 deadly sins of our society is really fucked up. If I don't know, starting with in this podcast.
And by the way, guys, all these conversations are just gonna be spoiler ridden.
Of course,
just so you know. But John Doe, Kevin Spacey, who probably his best role, is
John Doe. So we're gonna talk about the pedophile in the room.
Yeah. But you mentioned, it turns against each other and all of this. But watching this time, I'm like, I don't know if the movie is trying to tell us those issues you brought up about our own humanity. I really think the ending of the movie is like, yeah, we're all flawed, but this killer is just a piece of shit. Like, it's weird. I was trying to figure out what this movie is trying to tell us, and there's conflicting messages in there because he doesn't have some grand message.
Well, I mean, I disagree because he's punishing himself for the envy that he has towards people that can just live a normal life. Like, he couldn't live a normal life. So he recognized that he is one of those deadly sins, and if his master plan is going to play out, he has to be involved in the cycle of death. But the counterpoint to what you're saying, like it has conflicting messages, I think that Somerset is truly the message of the entire movie, and that is a person that's just trying to fight for the right in the world, despite the fact that he truly knows that we're fucked. Like, he knows he's tired, he's jaded, and
the ending quote.
And at some point he probably like rationalized what John Doe is doing. That's why he has such a wonderful conversation with him in the car, like, because he understands what he's doing, All
right. Yes, thank you. That was a good point. I'll before we get to that ending, because I think the last 20 minutes are the impact of the whole movie. This is the kind of hard hitting podcasting you're getting from this show. But no, so what I really loved about this movie, especially on this watch, is you go to the gluttony, right? And we go to gluttony and we go to greed, and I always thought this movie was so much more gruesome than it is, and there's some really gruesome set pieces, but they're so quickly shown that it's more played up in your head. Like you never actually see these murders; you just see the after results, right? So for me, always, if you pulled it from the streets, like what's the one thing from 70 you remember, not the meme, I'd be like, oh, the lust kill, right? And it's just a photo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because they really play on the. I don't know if it's. I like to say that it's a common known fact, but it's really the show as little as you can, because what the audience can fill in their head is far worse or far more gruesome than you can actually put on film, because it will play to your fear. Like if your fear is like, I don't know, maggots, you'll imagine that whatever in the bucket of vomit that they didn't show, like that's what you imagine in your head, and you're like, oh, it's so nasty.
I can't because of this. I still don't look at car fresheners. Air fresheners and go, oh, I need that for my car. It truly always reminds me of Seven.
That is one of the better jump scares ever filmed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I mean, David Fincher. I mean, this is probably his only like horror movie. Although Zodiac gets scarier and scarier the more you watch it, and that's a perfect movie. And we'll save that for another day. This is not the Zodiac podcast, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
No, so having said
I don't
that,
know. I could argue that The Social Network is a horror movie as well.
Yeah, there's a BuzzFeed article for that. No, I'm sorry. There's a Slate article for that.
Okay. Better.
But she's so used so little, so perfectly. Fucking goop.
Gwyneth
Paltrow. I mean, she's great in this movie because she is that. As she just shows up, and the scenes with her and Morgan Freeman, I'd rather their movie together. Like they could do a whole little adviceful dramedy together. But she's the tragic character of the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of fucked up that I don't know if I can curse. I'll edit my curses out if you don't want me to curse.
Curse.
It's kind of fucked up. I'm kidding. That when, obviously you said already spoilers, but when he gives himself up, which is a fantastic line, like, you're looking for me. I believe you're looking for me. He's literally covered in her blood.
So I wrote.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. I wrote down, what was that cab ride you think like? Because he gets dropped. Sorry.
I mean, that's a good point actually. But yeah, it's so fucked up that he committed that crime and had the calm energy just to walk up to the person. He's like, hey, you're looking for me.
He commits the crime, right? He commits the crime, and he does a few other things in that sequence that you bring that up. Dismembers the body, cuts the head, packages it, schedules a pickup, takes himself
a delivery, pickup and a delivery,
and takes himself to the precinct. That calmness. I mean, say what you want about that creep Kevin Spacey, but he's perfect in this movie. He is what the horror of this movie. The movie doesn't become, like I said, I was very surprised when he picked this movie because it doesn't become a horror movie until he shows up. Yeah,
it's the car ride and the desert sequence. That's the horror. That's
20 minutes. Yeah. It changes. We change the dynamic completely of this film.
Yeah.
And go right to it, right? So I think now I hate when good movies become memes. I just throw it out there. I hate the what's in the box, and you can't, because it's a great scene. Brad Pitt's not overacting. And my favorite part about that, actually, it's the best line in the whole movie. I say it sometimes, not meme-wise, is, no, John Doe has the upper hand. John Doe has the upper hand. Best fucking scene in the movie.
But yeah, my wife. This was my first viewing for my wife, and she literally only knew it from what's in the bag.
It's not
because every single comedy or every single hacky joke, and I've said it, so I can say that it's
I've
a
said
hacky joke.
too.
Has grounded it to the ground, like molded to the ground countless times. That scene has gone on. So she started watching it, and as soon as Gwyneth Paltrow came on scene, she's like, "Oh, I know what's in the box." And I was like, "Oh fuck, that was so quick." But she spent the entire movie going like, "Is he gonna be lust, or is he gonna be envy, or
Yeah.
he's gonna be like he's trying to figure it out." But what I think was genius about the portrayal of these two characters is that Somerset is played as this quiet energy, this quiet intelligence that he observes, absorbs, and then talks. Like it's very rare that you see him like react. Probably during the hallway sequence when before Brad Pitt kicks in the door. That's the only time like you really see. Oh well, when he punches John Doe as well. But contrast that to Brad Pitt literally losing his shit over every single thing. So they show you that he has no control at all over his emotions, over his actions. Like he literally punches a steering wheel because he had to read the Divine Comedy and he couldn't understand the poem structures of Dante. So obviously he was not gonna hold his emotions when presented with the death of his wife and his kid that he didn't know about. So they set up this character.
He didn't know.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, he didn't know. Oh, so fucked up.
But I mean, that's a great point, Jusef, because I also think it shows. I think and this is just me bringing to it. Mills is who Morgan Freeman was as a young cop.
Probably.
As who Somerset was as a young cop, because they get along. I mean, it's not a I hate you, you hate me for a long time. They get along. The icebreaker of that whole fucking movie is that dinner scene, and this like Morgan. I keep calling him. I want to use his character's name, but Somerset is so mature that he gets along with his wife. He gets along with Tracy.
Yeah.
And they have an instant connection, and Mills feels left out because it's immature for men to not be friends with women.
Yeah. That's a great point, actually, and it solidified it with the dinner scene, and where like there's kind of like an energy that Gwyneth plays with during that diner scene where you could have interpreted like she was being flirtatious, but she was just being friendly, and the way that he replies and guides her through his experiences in life. You go like, okay, I get it. I get what they're trying.
It's so interesting that because that's it's probably, I mean, we're talking about the ending, but that's the heaviest scene in the movie, right? The abortion conversation is a heavy movie, but emotionally, why does she call him? I mean, she's new to a city, but that you've had one dinner with him and maybe a few conversations on the phone, and you call your husband's partner. There's a connection there, and those two are your hearts of the movie. Like you said, like Morgan Freeman's your moral compass and kind of the person who learns and sees the world in that movie, right? And Gwyneth Paltrow is, I'm stealing I think Brad Pitt's line from when I was reading the little trivia tidbits was like, she's the only shining light in the whole movie. She's the only brightness in the movie, and you feel that on screen. Like,
and
this is.
And she represents also the future because she has a baby in her.
Yeah.
So by John Doe killing her and essentially robbing whatever that baby could have been, it really showcases that this world does not care how pure or how innocent you are. You're gonna pay for the sins of others.
So, yeah, it's a great movie. It's funny because starting off, you don't want to just say everything that someone comes on, be like, this is a good movie, blah, 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 this is good. But this truly is a flaw-free film, and, I was surprised to see it was 2 hours and 10 minutes, because it's one that moves, too,
it does.
For a procedural.
Yeah. You know what I blocked out completely? Because I probably haven't seen this movie, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. Like, I tend to gravitate more towards Zodiac or...
Sure.
even Social Network, The Game. I
4 years
rewatched
since
those
I watched
more.
it.
But I completely blocked out of my head the chase sequence, which is filmed so well and is so exciting to watch. But I blocked it out completely. Like when it started, I was like, "Wait, what?"
Oh yeah, and I think if I was reading correctly, in that sequence, Brad Pitt actually injured himself, so that's why they found a way to like hide, like make him have a new injury.
Oh,
Uh,
when he fell in
I
the
don't know if it was just during filming, but they basically added an injury in that scene so he could uh, be that. But yeah, it moves. It's so funny to watch it because it is a procedural, and everything they do in this movie is something then like 10 years later, just CSI
yeah.
could have on cable TV.
I mean, yeah, and he's really grown as a filmmaker, and you can see the inner workings that fed into Zodiac or even Mindhunters of how to make an investigation interesting,
Mhm.
make somebody looking up a book
I,
compelling.
I find it, I find it interesting here. Like I looked up its awards. You said it was a hit. It got nominated for editing and nothing else at the Academy Awards and for nothing else.
Mm.
Which I would see writing. Even that score is haunting.
Or at least, oh yeah, the score is fantastic. Or even the acting. Any of those four
Oh,
could have
Morgan
merit.
Freeman.
Yeah, could have merit like a best supporting for Spacey
So,
or whatever. Like one of them at least.
so you have Brad Pitt, who just ramble off some things of the time, right? Brad Pitt takes this role because he wants to shy away from the flop and corniness that was Legends of the Fall.
Okay.
Morgan Freeman took it, and they didn't think he would really because he was like wholesome or ever did like very more like humbling roles.
Well, this before
And
maybe
he
this
loved it.
is.
He jumped at the chance to do this.
But wait, is this maybe I'm off in my Morgan Freeman timeline? Is this the first one of this, and then he did like Kiss the Girls and all
I
those
let me
others?
let me see. I'm looking it up.
I can edit
Um,
this out.
no, it's fine. Seven. Yeah, he did Shawshank before this, like Unforgiven, and then I believe Kiss the Girls and all that was like right after.
Okay.
So, um, you
Because
know,
that's how I knew. That's as a kid. That's Morgan Freeman to me was the guy in the detective movies. Like I
okay,
just knew him from Seven, Kiss the Girls, Along Came a Spider. I think it's called the other one. There's
yeah.
he did like 4 or 5 after Seven. That
Yo,
like
string of. I mean, there's so many seven like copycat movies after
oh yeah.
this. One thing I'm so glad we never got, hope never get, is like the John Doe prequel film.
Yeah.
Like I could see some Hollywood, some execs right now being like, all right, we still have rights to seven. Um, so
Let's
David
film it.
Fincher.
Let's film the moment he vomited on the person in the subway. That would, everybody wants to see that.
So to pack this up essentially is David Fincher. We talked about the head box scene. Apparently David Fincher, that was in an early draft and they took it out and he said no, I'm only making this movie with that ending, so that's cool.
And they never show what's in the box.
It's
So
just a flash. It's her head flashed.
I know I didn't notice then.
Yeah, there's like a splice of her head.
Oh,
When Brad Pitt's giving his like monologue.
oh okay.
It's a frame. And actually
Huh.
they used that head. So it was a
Yeah, they used
prosthetic
it for
dead
something
head.
else.
They
Yeah.
used it for Contagion when she was on the
Ah,
bodyboard. So they had that around for so many years. And they probably used the same cast, but still. Um, so no, you do see what's in the box. But I remember actually when I was a teenager arguing with my friend that had happened. And he was like, no, it didn't. I'm like, no, it's in the movie. So you see what's in the box.
it's in the bag.
And yeah, so this uh, it's one of the best movies of the 90s.
It's up there.
It's another thing about the filmmaking that I just want to add is it is a very dark movie, and I don't mean like tonally wise. It's dark.
Visually.
It's shot and that's to keep do two things. It's to keep us as the audience a little bit away,
Yep.
and it's always raining, and I love that this movie, which I'm surprised we haven't mentioned yet, is it tells us this could happen in any city in the country because it's supposed to be any city in the country. It's a nondescript city.
Yeah.
The cops literally just say metropolitan city. It doesn't sell you anything. So I've come to conclude this takes place in DC Comics. This is gonna be part of the Snyder Cut, the Snyderverse. No, but it's a really
Joe, we could have gone.
fact.
We haven't gone one fucking podcast without mentioning this.
Yeah, you could edit that, but it's
yeah. Let me piggyback off before you close out. I know we're at the time. Yeah. We're done, but yeah, you mentioned that it's always in the dark. It's always raining. It's always, except those last 20 minutes. It's in pure broad daylight. It's in wide open space, and it's just showcasing. This is. Yeah, you can't run away from the reality of the situation.
Yeah, it's weird to say. It's a beautiful movie. It's like, and it sucks you in. And one thing I want to, we could do whatever we want on this podcast. I don't think I'm gonna have you guys as guests and whatever to give rankings of these movies.
No, we picked it because we like it.
Yeah, pick it because you like it. I will recommend it or not, and this is a highly recommend. This is a must own.
Yeah.
And it is funny to see to me that this was like fresh and new to people at 95.
Yeah.
And then now you could get this story just not told as well every day on the USA Network, TNT nonstop.
Yeah.
Anything that
you could argue that the series Hannibal, you couldn't have done it without this type of success.
You couldn't have done a lot of things, I don't think, without the success of Seven. Not just like something like Hannibal, but look at I don't know. I was thinking this, and then this is why I can write stuff down. But I think there's just so many things inspired by the success of Seven, that it is a movie we got to be thankful for.
Yeah, for sure. I'm thankful for it, and I'm thankful for being on FlyOver State of Fears. Right?
Yeah, FlyOver State of Fear or Fears. We haven't decided yet. No, anything you want to add though about Seven? It's just a smart movie that has a lot more to say than being a serial killer film.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's the type of movie. This is my favorite type of movie. It's the type of movie that you can enjoy on a surface level, watch it, enjoy it, and walk away, or you can really dive into each sequence, how they filmed it, why they filmed it, what's the meaning behind it, how they did it, blah blah blah, and really gain a lot of perspective from the intentions from Fincher to the writer to the producers. So that type of movie that doesn't sure at times it's kind of preachy, but it's on purpose because the serial killer was preachy, but it's not overly preachy in terms of the filmmaking.
There is one thing I don't think. Sorry, now I'm going back to some notes I had. There is one thing I think that does not line up well. So one thing that's very analyzed and known as the intro credits, right, and the ending credit, they carved into the actual film to get the thing. And the thought of that was supposed to be John Doe messing with the film. I don't think that stylistic pairs with the rest of the movie. It's cool. It works. Yeah. But that was the intention of it all, right? The original intro was written of Somerset buying a home and setting up his retirement plans. Anyway, yeah, I loved your thoughts and description on Seven. I highly recommend it. I hope to do more of these episodes. I hope you guys listen and watch.
2 thumbs up.
So where can the people find you?
I usually don't do that, but at why I love movies on Twitter. Yeah.
You have another podcast that's not FlyOver.
I usually don't plug that either here, but I'll do it. Unprecedented, the podcast. We take an in-depth look at presidents. We just go through kind of a quick summary of their biography, but we mainly focus on their presidential terms, what they did right and wrong, and how history looks back on them.
Fantastic. You can find me at FlyOver State of Film on any of the social medias at Chendango1. Yeah, guys, thanks for tuning into the first episode. Stay spooky.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I stole that from someone, but good.
All right, welcome to FlyOver State of Fear.